Marcus Johnson woke up to the sound of his alarm blaring at 5 in the morning. He groaned, rolling over on the thin mattress that barely covered the squeaky springs beneath him. The room was small, cramped with second-hand furniture, a dresser, missing one knob, a desk with chipped paint, and a single chair pushed into the corner. Sunlight hadn't yet made its way through the heavy curtains, but Marcus knew he didn't have time to waste. Today was the day. He sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes as he tried to shake off the exhaustion from working late shifts at the diner the night before. His feet touched the cold floor, and he sighed deeply. This was it, the interview he had been waiting for. After months of applying to countless jobs, revising his resume until it felt perfect and practicing answers to potential questions in front of the cracked mirror in his bathroom, Marcus finally had a chance to prove himself. It wasn't just any job. It was a position at Technova Solutions, one of the biggest tech companies in the city. If he got this role, everything could change. Marcus shuffled to the tiny kitchenette tucked into the corner of his studio apartment. He turned on the stove and placed a pan over the burner, cracking an egg into it. The sizzle filled the quiet space, and he watched as the edges of the egg began to turn golden brown. Breakfast was simple. A slice of white bread toasted until it was slightly burnt, paired with the fried egg. It wasn't much, but it would keep him going until lunchtime. As he ate, he glanced at the clock on the wall. 5:30. He needed to leave by 6:15 if he wanted to catch the bus and make it downtown on time. After finishing his meal, Marcus stood in front of the sink and washed the dishes quickly. Then he walked back to his bedroom area and opened the closet door. Inside hung the only suit he owned, a navy blue jacket and matching trousers, both slightly worn but still presentable. He slipped them on carefully, making sure every wrinkle was smoothed out. Next came the white button-down shirt and a tie he had borrowed from his cousin last year. Standing in front of the mirror, Marcus adjusted his collar and straightened the knot of the tie. He looked professional, even if the clothes weren't brand new. "You've got this," he whispered to himself, trying to muster some confidence. Streets outside were quiet when Marcus stepped out of his building. The air carried a chill, hinting at the rain clouds gathering overhead. He pulled the collar of his jacket closer around his neck and started walking toward the bus stop. Along the way, he passed familiar sights. The corner store where he sometimes bought snacks after work, the playground where kids laughed during the day, and the graffiti-covered walls that lined the alleyways. These were reminders of the neighborhood he called home, a place full of life but also struggles. Marcus dreamed of leaving it all behind someday, not because he hated it, but because he wanted more. More for himself, more for his family, and more for the future he hoped to build. When he reached the bus stop, a few people were already waiting. Some huddled under umbrellas while others leaned against the pole holding the schedule sign. Marcus joined them, glancing up at the sky. The gray clouds seemed darker now, and a drop of rain landed on his cheek. He shifted uncomfortably, hoping the bus would arrive soon. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the vehicle pulled up with a loud hiss of brakes. Everyone boarded quickly, eager to escape the impending downpour. Once seated, Marcus stared out the window as the city rolled by. Skyscrapers loomed in the distance, their glass facades reflecting the dull light of the overcast morning. Cars honked impatiently, and pedestrians hurried along the sidewalks, dodging puddles forming on the uneven pavement. Marcus's mind wandered as he thought about the interview. Would they ask about his lack of experience? What if he stumbled over his words or forgot to mention something important? Doubts crept in, but he pushed them aside. He couldn't afford to think negatively now. Not today. As the bus neared downtown, the rain began to fall harder. Fat drops splattered against the windows, creating streaks that blurred the view outside. When Marcus finally arrived at his stop, he stepped off the bus and immediately felt the weight of the storm. Water soaked through his shoes almost instantly, and his umbrella struggled to shield him from the wind-driven rain. Still, he pressed on, determined not to let anything ruin this moment. The office building where the interview was scheduled stood tall and imposing, its entrance framed by sleek, glass doors. Marcus paused briefly to check his reflection in the window, ensuring his hair wasn't too messy and his tie was still straight. Satisfied, he took a deep breath and began crossing the street. That's when he saw her. Standing on the curb ahead was a woman, drenched and clearly distressed. Her blonde hair clung to her face and her clothes were soaked through. She held a phone in one hand, looking at it helplessly, while the other gripped the strap of her purse tightly. A car sat idling behind her, its hazard lights flashing. It was clear something was wrong. Marcus hesitated for a moment. He glanced at his watch, 6:45. He still had 15 minutes before the interview started, but finding a taxi in this weather wouldn't be easy. Helping her could mean being late or worse, missing the interview entirely. But as he watched her shiver in the rain, his decision became clear. He couldn't just walk past someone in need. Approaching cautiously, Marcus spoke loudly enough to be heard over the rain. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you okay?" The woman looked up, startled. Her blue eyes widened as she met his gaze. "My car broke down," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know what to do." Without hesitation, Marcus flagged down a passing taxi. Once it stopped, he opened the door and gestured for her to get inside. "Where are you headed?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then gave him directions to a nearby repair shop. Marcus relayed the information to the driver before turning back to her. "You'll be fine," he assured her with a warm smile. "Just take care of yourself." As the taxi drove away, the woman rolled down the window and called out, "Thank you, I won't forget this." Marcus nodded, feeling a sense of satisfaction despite knowing he might miss his interview. He glanced at his watch again. 6:55. There was no time to dwell on it now. He ran toward the office building, hoping against hope that he wouldn't be too late. But deep down, he already knew. By the time he reached the lobby, panting and dripping wet, the receptionist informed him that the interview had begun without him. Disappointment washed over Marcus as he realized the opportunity he had worked so hard for was slipping through his fingers. All because he chose to help a stranger. Little did he know, that stranger was far more than she appeared to be, and her gratitude would lead to something far greater than either of them could have imagined. The taxi ride felt like an eternity for Elena Carter. She sat in the back seat shivering despite the warmth of the car's heater. Her clothes were soaked, clinging uncomfortably to her skin, and her hair stuck to her face in damp strands. But none of that mattered compared to the storm brewing inside her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about the man who had helped her, the stranger with kind eyes and a calm voice. Elena replayed the scene over and over in her head. She had been standing on the curb, completely helpless when he approached her without hesitation. He didn't ask questions or demand anything in return. Instead, he flagged down a taxi, made sure she got inside safely, and even gave the driver directions to the repair shop. It was such a small act, yet it meant so much. What struck Elena most was how genuine he seemed. There was no pretense, no ulterior motive, just pure kindness. In a world where people often looked out for themselves first, his actions stood out. And then there was the way he smiled at her before the taxi drove off. A warm, reassuring smile that stayed with her long after he disappeared from view. As the taxi pulled up to the repair shop, Elena paid the driver and stepped out into the rain once more. The mechanic greeted her with a sympathetic nod and promised to take a look at her car as soon as possible. Grateful for the reprieve, Elena ducked inside the waiting area, where she dried herself off as best she could using paper towels from the dispenser on the wall. Sitting down on one of the plastic chairs, she pulled out her phone to check her messages. Her inbox was flooded with emails, reminders, and updates, all things she needed to address as CEO of Carter Innovations, but for some reason, none of it held her attention. Instead, her thoughts kept drifting back to the man. Who was he? Why? Had he stopped to help her when he clearly had somewhere important to be? Something about him intrigued her, though she couldn't quite put her finger on what it was. Maybe it was his selflessness. Or maybe it was the quiet confidence in his voice, the way he carried himself even while drenched in the rain. Whatever it was, It lingered in her mind like an unanswered question. By the time the mechanic called her over to explain the problem with her car, Elena had already decided she wanted to find out more about him. She thanked the mechanic, arranged for her car to be towed to a nearby garage, and then caught another taxi back to her penthouse apartment. Once home, she peeled off her wet clothes and changed into something dry and comfortable. Then, she settled onto the couch with her laptop, determined to uncover the identity of the man who had unknowingly left such a lasting impression on her. Elena started by searching online for any recent news or social media posts about someone matching his description. When that yielded no results, she turned to the information she remembered hearing during their brief encounter. He had mentioned being late for an interview. That much she recalled clearly. But which company, and where was the office located? She racked her brain, trying to piece together the details. Suddenly it hit her. The building where he had been heading, the towering skyscraper near Technova Solutions. Could it be possible that he was interviewing there? If so, she might have access to his resume. As CEO of Carter Innovations, Elena had connections throughout the tech industry, including partnerships with companies like Technova. A quick call to one of her contacts confirmed her suspicions. Technova had indeed held interviews earlier that morning. With renewed determination, Elena reached out to her contact and requested copies of the resumes submitted for the open positions. Within hours, she had a folder filled with documents waiting for her review. One by one, she scanned through them, looking for any clue that might match the man she had met. Name after name passed by, each accompanied by qualifications and experiences that blended together in a blur. Just as she began to lose hope, a particular resume caught her eye. It belonged to Marcus Johnson. His background wasn't flashy. He hadn't attended an Ivy League school or worked at high-profile companies. But there was something compelling about his story. He grew up in a low-income neighborhood, worked multiple jobs to support himself, and still managed to excel academically. His passion for technology shone through every line of his application, along with his determination to succeed, despite the odds stacked against him. Elena leaned back in her chair, her heart racing. This had to be him. Everything fit. The timing, the location, the sense of purpose she sensed in him earlier that day. Yet, according to the notes attached to his file, Marcus had missed his interview. Someone else had taken his spot, leaving him empty-handed. For a moment, Elena felt a pang of guilt, had her broken-down car cost him the opportunity of a lifetime? She shook her head, pushing the thought aside. There was no point dwelling on what-ifs. What mattered now was finding a way to make things right. Over the next few days, Elena thought long and hard about what to do. She considered reaching out to Marcus directly, but worried it might come across as intrusive or presumptuous. After all, she barely knew him. Finally, she settled on a plan that felt both fair and meaningful. She would invite him back for a second chance, an exclusive meeting with her personally, bypassing the usual hiring process. It wasn't just about making amends. It was about recognizing potential when she saw it. Once the decision was made, Elena instructed her assistant to draft an email to Marcus. The message was simple yet professional, inviting him to visit Carter Innovations for a discussion about future opportunities. She signed off with her name and title, hoping it would pique his curiosity enough to accept the invitation. When the email was sent, Elena leaned back in her chair, feeling a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Would he come? Would he understand why she had reached out? Most importantly, would he forgive her for inadvertently ruining his chances at Technova? Meanwhile, Marcus was sitting at his kitchen table, staring blankly at his laptop screen. Days had passed since the missed interview, and he still couldn't shake the disappointment. Every time he thought about how close he had come to achieving his dream, only to lose it because of a random act of kindness, frustration bubbled inside him. He tried to remind himself that helping the woman had been the right thing to do, but it didn't ease the sting of failure. Just as he was about to close his laptop and go to bed, a notification popped up on the screen. An email from Carter Innovations. At first, Marcus assumed it was spam, Companies like that didn't send emails to people like him. Curiosity got the better of him, though, and he clicked on the message. As he read through the words, his eyes widened in disbelief. They wanted to meet with him, personally. And not just anyone. They wanted him to meet with Elena Carter, the CEO herself. Marcus reread the email 3 times to make sure he wasn't imagining things. How did they even know who he was? Was this some kind of prank? But the tone of the message was sincere, and the signature at the bottom left no room for doubt. This was real. His mind raced as he tried to make sense of it all. Why would a major tech company like Carter Innovations reach out to him? Did it have something to do with the woman he helped that rainy morning? It seemed too coincidental to be unrelated. Whatever the reason, Marcus knew he couldn't pass up the opportunity. Even if it turned out to be nothing, at least he would have tried. With trembling hands, Marcus typed out a reply accepting the invitation. He hit send and then sat back, letting out a shaky breath. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, his luck was about to change. Little did he know, his life was about to take a turn he never could have predicted. Marcus spent the next few days in a whirlwind of emotions. He alternated between excitement, doubt, and anxiety. On one hand, he couldn't believe that Carter Innovations, a company he had only dreamed of working for, had reached out to him, personally. On the other hand, he couldn't shake the feeling that it might all be a mistake. Maybe they had confused him with someone else. Or worse, maybe it was some kind of elaborate prank. But deep down, Marcus knew he had to take the chance. Opportunities like this didn't come around often, especially not for someone like him. The morning of the meeting arrived and Marcus woke up earlier than usual. He showered, shaved carefully, and put on the same navy blue suit he had worn for the Technova interview. This time, though, he made sure every detail was perfect. The tie, straight, the shoes polished, and his hair neatly combed. Standing in front of the mirror, he practiced smiling confidently, even though his stomach felt like it was tied in knots. By the time he left his apartment, the sun was just beginning to rise. The streets were quiet, and the air carried a crispness that hinted at autumn. Marcus walked to the bus stop, clutching the invitation email printed on a single sheet of paper. It was his lifeline, proof that this wasn't just a dream. As he waited for the bus, he rehearsed what he would say when he met Elena Carter. Should he mention the rainy day? Would she even remember him? His mind raced with questions, but he forced himself to focus on the present moment. When the bus finally arrived, Marcus boarded and found a seat near the window. He stared outside as the city slowly came to life. Skyscrapers loomed ahead, their glass facades reflecting the golden light of the rising sun. The closer he got to Carter Innovations headquarters, the more nervous he became. By the time he stepped off the bus and approached the towering building, his palms were sweaty and his heart was pounding. The lobby of Carter Innovations was sleek and modern, with marble floors and walls adorned with digital displays showcasing the company's latest innovations. Marcus approached the reception desk, where a young woman greeted him with a warm smile. "Good morning," she said. "Are you here for the meeting with Ms. Carter?" "Yes," Marcus replied, trying to sound calm despite the butterflies in his stomach. "I'm Marcus Johnson." The receptionist nodded and checked her tablet. "Ms. Carter is expecting you. Please have a seat and I'll let her know you're here." Marcus sat down on one of the plush leather chairs, glancing around the room. Everything about the space screamed success, luxury, precision, and ambition. He couldn't help but feel out of place, like a small fish swimming in an ocean far too vast for him. But he reminded himself why he was here, to prove that he belonged. A few minutes later, a tall man in a tailored suit appeared and gestured for Marcus to follow him. They walked through a series of hallways lined with glass walls, giving glimpses into offices filled with people typing furiously on keyboards or gathered around whiteboards covered in diagrams. Eventually, they reached a set of double doors that opened into a spacious office. Behind a large desk sat Elena Carter. Elena stood up as Marcus entered the room, extending her hand with a friendly smile. "Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming. Marcus shook her hand firmly, though his voice faltered slightly as he spoke. "Thank you for having me, Ms. Carter." "Please call me Elena," she said, motioning for him to take a seat across from her. Once he was settled, she continued. "I wanted to meet with you because I believe we share something important, a commitment to doing the right thing." Marcus frowned, unsure what she meant. "I'm not sure I understand." Elena leaned forward slightly, her expression softening. "Do you remember helping a woman on the street a few weeks ago? She was stranded in the rain, and you flagged down a taxi for her." Marcus's eyes widened. "That was you?" Elena nodded, her smile widening. "It was me. And I'll never forget how kind you were, even though you clearly had somewhere important to be. That act of generosity left a lasting impression on me." Marcus felt heat rise to his cheeks. "I didn't think anything of it. Helping someone, in need, it's just the right thing to do. And that's exactly why I wanted to meet you," Elena said. Her tone grew serious. "You see, I happen to own Carter Innovations. When I learned that you missed your interview at Technova because of me, I felt terrible. You deserved better than that." Marcus blinked, stunned. He hadn't realized the woman he helped was the CEO of such a prestigious company. "I didn't know," he stammered. "I mean, I wasn't expecting anything in return." "I know," Elena said. "And that's what makes your actions so remarkable. Too many people act out of self-interest, but you didn't. You showed integrity and compassion without expecting anything in return. Those are qualities I value deeply, both in my personal life and in the people I choose to work with." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "After reviewing your resume, I was impressed by your qualifications and your drive. I'd like to offer you a position within our team, not because I owe you anything, but because I genuinely believe you have the potential to make a difference here." Marcus stared at her, unable to process what he was hearing. A job at Carter Innovations? It sounded too good to be true. I don't know what to say," he admitted. "This is incredible. Thank you." "There's no need to thank me," Elena said. "You earned this opportunity through your hard work and character. All I'm doing is giving you the chance you deserve." Over the next hour, Elena explained the details of the role she had in mind for Marcus. It was an entry-level position in the innovation department where he would assist senior engineers and contribute to developing new technologies. While it wasn't the exact job he had applied for at Technova, it was infinitely better. The resources, mentorship, and opportunities available at Carter Innovations were unparalleled. As they wrapped up the meeting, Elena handed Marcus a folder containing information about the company and his responsibilities. "Take some time to review everything," she said. "If you decide to accept, we can start onboarding next week." Marcus nodded eagerly. "There's no need to review anything." "I accept," Elena smiled, clearly pleased with his response. "Welcome to the team, Marcus. I look forward to seeing everything you accomplish here." Leaving the building felt surreal. Marcus walked back to the bus stop, clutching the folder tightly in his hands. His mind buzzed with excitement and disbelief. Just days ago, he thought, his dreams were slipping away. Now he was standing on the brink of a new beginning, one he never could have imagined. When he got home, Marcus called his mother to share the news. Her voice trembled with pride as she congratulated him. "I always knew you'd make it, baby," she said. "You've worked so hard for this." Hearing those words brought tears to Marcus's eyes. For years, he had carried the weight of his family's struggles on his shoulders, determined to create a better future for them. Now he finally had a chance to do just that. Over the next week, Marcus prepared diligently for his first day at Carter Innovations. He read through the materials Elena had given him, familiarizing himself with the company's mission and projects. He also spent hours researching the tech industry, eager to absorb as much knowledge as possible. Every night he went to bed, feeling hopeful, knowing that tomorrow held endless possibilities. On his first day, Marcus arrived early, dressed in his best outfit. The receptionist greeted him warmly and escorted him to the innovation department, where he met his new colleagues, They welcomed him with open arms, introducing themselves and offering tips to help him settle in. One of them, a young woman named Lisa, took him under her wing, showing him around the office and explaining the tools they used. Throughout the day, Marcus threw himself into his work, determined to prove himself. He asked questions, took notes, and contributed ideas whenever he could. By the end of the day, he felt exhausted but fulfilled. For the first time in his life, he truly felt like he belonged. As the weeks passed, Marcus quickly became an integral part of the team. His creativity and problem-solving skills impressed everyone, including Elena. She often stopped by his desk to check on his progress, offering guidance and encouragement. Their relationship evolved from professional to mentor-mentee, with Elena taking a genuine interest in Marcus's growth. One afternoon, as they discussed an upcoming project, Elena shared a piece of advice that stayed with Marcus. "Success isn't just about achieving your goals," she said. "It's about lifting others up along the way. Never forget where you came from, and always use your platform to help those who need it most." Marcus nodded, committing her words to memory. He vowed to honor her advice, knowing that his journey was just beginning. With each passing day, he grew more confident in his abilities and more grateful for the opportunity he had been given. Little did he know, this was only the start of something extraordinary. Marcus settled into his new role at Carter Innovations faster than he ever imagined. At first, he worried about fitting in. After all, most of his co-workers had degrees from prestigious universities and years of experience under their belts. But Marcus quickly realized that what mattered most wasn't where you came from. It was how hard you were willing to work. And no one worked harder than him. Every morning, Marcus arrived at the office before anyone else. He used the quiet time to review notes, brainstorm ideas, and prepare for the day ahead. During meetings, he listened carefully, absorbing every detail while jotting down questions or suggestions. His colleagues noticed his dedication and began to rely on him for fresh perspectives. Lisa, who had taken him under her wing during his first week, often joked that Marcus had a knack for seeing solutions others missed. One project in particular stood out as a turning point for Marcus. The team was tasked with developing a mobile app designed to help small businesses manage their finances more efficiently. It was a challenging assignment, requiring creativity, technical expertise, and an understanding of real-world problems faced by entrepreneurs. Many on the team struggled to find a balance between functionality and simplicity, but Marcus approached the problem differently. He thought back to his own experiences growing up in a low-income neighborhood. He remembered watching his mother juggle bills, groceries, and unexpected expenses, always worried about making ends meet. He also recalled the countless local shop owners who worked tirelessly to keep their businesses afloat despite limited resources. Drawing inspiration from these memories, Marcus proposed adding features that would allow users to track spending patterns, set financial goals, and receive personalized tips based on their income levels. At first, some members of the team were skeptical. They argued that such features might complicate the app or stray too far from its original purpose. But Marcus persisted, presenting data and examples to support his ideas. Eventually, Elena stepped in, praising Marcus's innovative approach and encouraging the team to give his suggestions a try. The result was extraordinary. When the prototype was tested, feedback from potential users was overwhelmingly positive. Small business owners loved the app's intuitive design and practical tools, saying it felt like having a personal financial advisor in their pocket. Word spread quickly within the company, and soon Marcus found himself being invited to present updates directly to senior management, including Elena. Standing in front of the executives, Marcus felt a mix of pride and nerves. This was the biggest audience he had ever addressed, and he knew this moment could shape his future at Carter Innovations. Taking a deep breath, he began explaining the app's features, emphasizing how they addressed real-world challenges faced by underserved communities. As he spoke, he saw nods of approval and heard murmurs of agreement. By the end of the presentation, the room erupted in applause. Elena smiled warmly as she clapped. "Great job, Marcus," she said afterward, pulling him aside. "You've proven yourself not just as a valuable member of this team, but as someone who understands our mission, to create technology that makes a difference." Encouraged by the success of the app project, Marcus continued to push boundaries. He volunteered for additional assignments, attended workshops to expand his skills, and sought feedback from his peers to improve his work. Slowly but surely, he earned the respect of everyone around him, including those who had initially doubted him. His relationship with Elena grew stronger as well. She became more than just his mentor, she was a friend and advocate. Whenever Marcus faced challenges, whether professional or personal, Elena offered guidance without judgment. In return, Marcus shared stories about his upbringing, giving her insight into the struggles faced by people in underserved communities. These conversations sparked something in Elena, a desire to use Carter Innovations' resources to address systemic inequalities. Together, they launched several initiatives aimed at increasing access to technology education for underprivileged youth. One program provided free coding classes to students in low-income neighborhoods, equipping them with skills needed for careers in tech. Another partnered with local nonprofits to offer internships and scholarships to promising young talents. Marcus played a key role in designing and implementing these programs, drawing on his own experiences to ensure they met the needs of participants. As the months passed, Marcus's reputation within the company soared. He was promoted twice in less than 2 years, moving from an entry-level position to a leadership role overseeing junior engineers. Each promotion brought new responsibilities, but Marcus embraced them with enthusiasm. He mentored his team members, just as Elena had mentored him, fostering an environment of collaboration and growth. Despite his rapid rise, Marcus never forgot his roots. He remained humble, always quick to credit his success to the support he received along the way. Whether speaking at company events or mentoring young employees, he emphasized the importance of perseverance, kindness, and integrity. Success isn't just about achieving your dreams, he often said. It's about helping others achieve theirs too. His commitment to giving back extended beyond the workplace. On weekends, Marcus returned to his old neighborhood to volunteer at community centers and schools. He organized workshops teaching kids basic computer skills, shared his story to inspire hope, and donated part of his salary to fund scholarships for aspiring students. Seeing the impact he made filled him with a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Elena watched with pride as Marcus blossomed into a leader. She admired his ability to connect with people from all walks of life and his unwavering dedication to making a difference. Under her guidance, Marcus took on increasingly complex projects, each one pushing him closer to his ultimate goal, becoming a driving force behind technological innovation that benefited everyone, not just the privileged few. By the 3rd year of his tenure at Carter Innovations, Marcus had become a household name within the company. Colleagues looked up to him, executives trusted his judgment, and newcomers sought his advice. Yet, despite his accomplishments, Marcus remained grounded. He knew that none of this would have been possible without the woman who believed in him, when no one else did. One evening, after wrapping up a particularly demanding project, Marcus walked into Elena's office to thank her. "I don't say this enough," he began, "but I owe everything to you. If you hadn't given me a second chance, I wouldn't be here today." Elena shook her head, smiling softly. "Don't thank me, Marcus. You earned every bit of this. Through your hard work and determination. All I did was open the door. You're the one who walked through it." Her words touched Marcus deeply. For so long, he had carried the weight of his struggles alone, believing success was something he had to fight for on his own. Now he understood that true progress came not from individual effort, but from lifting each other up. As they sat together discussing future plans, Marcus realized something profound. His journey wasn't just about personal achievement. It was about creating opportunities for others, breaking cycles of poverty and proving that kindness could change lives, including his own. And as he left Elena's office that night, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. There was still so much work to be done, so many barriers to break and so many dreams to fulfill. But for the first time in his life, he truly believed he had the power to make a difference, not just for himself, but for generations to come. Marcus's rise within Carter Innovations was nothing short of remarkable. By the 4th year, he had become one of the company's most trusted leaders. His name was mentioned in boardroom discussions alongside senior executives, and his ideas were shaping the direction of major projects. Yet despite his growing influence, Marcus never lost sight of what mattered most: using his position to help others. One of the initiatives Marcus championed was a program called Tech for All. It aimed to bring affordable technology solutions to underserved communities, from rural towns to inner-city neighborhoods. The idea came to him during a visit to his old community center. While talking with local kids about their dreams and challenges, he realized how inaccessible modern tools like laptops, tablets, and internet access were for many families. Without these resources, young people struggled to compete academically or pursue careers in fields like engineering, medicine, or tech. Elena fully supported the initiative, allocating funds and connecting Marcus with partners across industries. Together, they worked tirelessly to develop affordable devices, provide free digital literacy training, and establish partnerships with schools and libraries. Within months, Tech for All became one of Carter Innovations' flagship programs, earning praise from educators, policymakers, and community leaders alike. But Marcus didn't stop there. He also pushed for changes within the company itself. Inspired by his own journey, he advocated for hiring practices that prioritized diversity and inclusion. He believed talent existed everywhere. It just needed opportunities to shine. Under his leadership, Carter Innovations launched an internship program specifically targeting students from underrepresented backgrounds. Participants received hands-on experience, mentorship, and networking opportunities designed to prepare them for long-term success. The impact of these efforts rippled far beyond the company walls. Families who once saw tech careers as unattainable began dreaming bigger for their children. Students who participated in the internship program went on to secure full-time positions at Carter Innovations and other leading firms. And Marcus? He found joy in knowing he was helping rewrite narratives, not just for individuals but for entire communities. Despite his professional achievements, Marcus faced challenges along the way. Not everyone at Carter Innovations embraced his vision right away. Some executives questioned whether investing in social causes aligned with the company's bottom line. Others dismissed his ideas as overly ambitious or impractical. Even among colleagues, there were whispers that Marcus was too idealistic or trying to do too much. At first, these criticisms shook him. He doubted whether he belonged in a room full of seasoned professionals who seemed worlds apart from the struggles he understood so well. But Elena reminded him of something important. Change rarely came without resistance. "You're not here to please everyone," she told him during one particularly tough week. "You're here to make a difference. Trust your instincts, Marcus. They've brought you this far." Her words gave him strength. Instead of shrinking back, Marcus leaned into his convictions. He gathered data, shared stories, and demonstrated how initiatives like Tech for All weren't just good for society, they were good for business too. Companies that invested in diverse talent pools and equitable practices saw higher employee satisfaction, better innovation, and stronger financial performance. Slowly but surely, skeptics began to see the value in Marcus's approach. As time passed, Marcus's relationship with Elena evolved into a powerful partnership. While she provided strategic guidance and opened doors, Marcus brought fresh perspectives and relentless energy. Together, they tackled some of the toughest issues facing both the company and the tech industry as a whole. One of their most ambitious projects involved addressing the digital divide, a persistent gap between those who had access to technology and those who didn't. They partnered with government agencies, nonprofits, and private companies to create a nationwide campaign aimed at bridging this gap. The campaign included everything from building high-speed internet infrastructure in remote areas to offering subsidized devices and training programs in urban centers. It was a massive undertaking, requiring coordination across multiple sectors. and overcoming countless obstacles. But Marcus thrived under pressure. He traveled extensively, meeting with stakeholders, speaking at conferences, and rallying support for the cause. Along the way, he gained confidence as a public speaker and advocate, inspiring audiences with his passion and authenticity. During one such event, a tech summit in San Francisco, Marcus delivered a keynote address that left attendees buzzing. Standing on stage, he shared his personal story, growing up poor, working odd jobs to survive, and nearly missing his big break because he stopped to help someone in need. He spoke about the importance of empathy, resilience, and collective action in creating a fairer, more inclusive world. When I started at Carter Innovations, I thought my job was to write code and solve technical problems, he said. But over time, I realized my real mission is to solve human problems, to use technology as a tool for empowerment, not exclusion. That's why we must work together to ensure no one gets left behind. The crowd erupted in applause, and afterward, dozens of people approached Marcus to thank him for his message. Many shared their own stories of struggle and triumph, reinforcing his belief that everyone deserved a chance to succeed. Back at Carter Innovations, Marcus continued to innovate. One of his proudest accomplishments was developing a platform called SkillBridge, which connected job seekers with employers looking for specific skill sets. Unlike traditional hiring platforms, SkillBridge focused on competency rather than credentials, giving candidates from non-traditional backgrounds a fair shot at employment. The platform quickly gained traction, attracting users from all over the country. Through SkillBridge, Marcus reconnected with several former classmates and neighbors who had struggled to find stable work despite being highly capable. Seeing them land jobs and build better lives filled him with pride. It was proof that opportunity could transform lives and that he was playing a part in making that happen. Of course, Marcus's journey wasn't without sacrifices. Balancing his demanding career with personal relationships proved difficult. At times, friends joked that he was married to his job, and they weren't entirely wrong. Late nights at the office and frequent travel left little room for anything else. Still, Marcus made it a point to stay close to his family, calling his mom regularly and visiting whenever possible. His relationship with Elena remained central to his success. Though their bond was rooted in mutual respect and shared goals, there were moments when tensions arose. For instance, when disagreements about project priorities surfaced, Marcus sometimes felt frustrated by Elena's insistence on maintaining certain corporate protocols. But these conflicts only strengthened their partnership, teaching them how to navigate differences while staying aligned on their ultimate mission. By the 5th year, Marcus's contributions had earned him widespread recognition. He was featured in magazines, invited to speak at prestigious events, and even nominated for awards celebrating leadership in tech. Yet none of these accolades meant as much to him as the smiles of the people he helped. The student who landed her first internship, the single mother who learned coding skills to support her family, the elderly man who finally accessed online healthcare services thanks to Tech for All. Looking back, Marcus marveled at how far he'd come. From a poor young man running late for an interview to a respected leader driving meaningful change, his journey was proof that kindness and hard work could open doors no one thought possible. And though he knew challenges lay ahead, he faced them with courage, knowing he wasn't alone. With Elena by his side and a growing network of allies, Marcus was ready to take on whatever came next. Because for him, success wasn't measured by titles or trophies. It was measured by the lives he touched and the legacy he built. And that, he realized, was a mission worth dedicating his life to. Years had passed since Marcus Johnson first walked into Carter Innovations as a nervous young man, unsure of his place in the world. Now, standing on stage at a glittering awards gala, he was one of the most recognized figures in the tech industry. The room buzzed with energy as hundreds of guests, executives, innovators, and community leaders gathered to celebrate achievements that were shaping the future. Spotlight beams danced across the ceiling, and soft music played in the background, as Marcus prepared to accept an award for his contributions to social impact through technology. As he stepped up to the podium, applause erupted. Marcus scanned the crowd, his eyes landing briefly on Elena Carter sitting in the front row. She smiled warmly, her expression filled with pride. It was a moment neither of them could have imagined all those years ago, when their paths crossed on a rainy street corner. Taking a deep breath, Marcus adjusted the microphone and began to speak. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady despite the nerves swirling inside him. "This honor isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who has supported me along the way. To my family who taught me the value of hard work. To my colleagues who believed in my ideas even when I doubted myself. And especially to Elena Carter, whose kindness gave me a second chance when I needed it most." The audience clapped again, some nodding in agreement. Marcus paused, letting the words sink in before continuing. "When I started this journey, I thought success meant getting a good job and providing for my family. But over time, I realized something important. True success is about lifting others up. It's about creating opportunities where none existed before, and proving that no dream is too big if we're willing to help each other." He went on to share stories of people whose lives had been transformed by programs like Tech for All and SkillBridge. He talked about students who learned coding skills and landed internships, entrepreneurs who used affordable tools to grow their businesses, and families who gained access to resources they once thought were out of reach. Each story reinforced the message he had carried throughout his career. Technology wasn't just about innovation, it was about connection. By the end of his speech, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. As Marcus stepped away from the podium, the applause grew louder, echoing through the grand hall. People rose to their feet, cheering not just for what he had accomplished, but for what he represented, a testament to perseverance, empathy, and the power of giving back. After the gala, Marcus joined Elena in a quiet lounge area reserved for honorees and special guests. They sat together sipping coffee while reflecting on the evening's events. "You did great tonight," Elena said, her tone full of admiration. "Your words reminded me why I started this company in the first place, to make a difference." Marcus chuckled softly. "Funny how things come full circle, isn't it? If it weren't for you stopping me that day, none of this would have happened." Elena shook her head. "Don't give me too much credit. You're the one who made all of this possible. I just opened the door, you built the path." Her humility touched Marcus deeply. Over the years, their partnership had grown stronger, rooted in mutual respect and shared values. Together, they had achieved more than either of them could have alone. Yet Marcus knew there was still so much work to be done. "We've come a long way," Marcus said after a moment of silence. "But there's still so much inequality to address. So many people are being left behind because they don't have access to opportunities. We can't stop now." Elena nodded. "Agreed. This isn't the finish line. It's just the beginning of the next chapter. Let's keep pushing boundaries and finding new ways to create change." True to their word, Marcus and Elena continued to innovate. In the years that followed, they launched initiatives aimed at tackling global challenges, from climate change to healthcare disparities. One project focused on developing low-cost renewable energy solutions for rural communities without reliable electricity. Another partnered with hospitals to create telemedicine platforms that connected underserved patients with doctors remotely. These efforts earned Carter Innovations international acclaim, solidifying its reputation as a leader in socially responsible technology. At the same time, Marcus became a mentor to countless young professionals entering the tech industry. He often spoke about the importance of staying grounded and remembering where you came from. "Success doesn't mean forgetting your roots," he told them during workshops and panel discussions. "It means using your position to help others climb higher." His advice resonated with many, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds who saw themselves in his story. Inspired by his example, they pursued careers in tech, confident that their voices mattered and their ideas could make a difference. Despite his demanding schedule, Marcus found time to return to his old neighborhood regularly. He visited schools, mentored students, and donated funds to improve local facilities. Seeing the next generation of innovators take shape filled him with hope. One day, while speaking at a community event, a teenage girl approached him afterward. Her name was Jasmine, and she was fascinated by robotics. "I want to do what you do someday," she said shyly, clutching a notebook filled with sketches of inventions. "But I don't know if I'm smart enough." Marcus knelt down to meet her gaze. "You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to succeed," he told her gently. "You just have to care enough to try. And trust me, your ideas matter. Never let anyone tell you otherwise." Jasmine beamed, visibly encouraged by his words. Moments like these reminded Marcus why he kept going, even when the road felt long and uncertain. As the years turned into decades, Marcus's legacy only grew stronger. His name became synonymous with innovation and inclusion, inspiring countless individuals to pursue careers in tech and beyond. Elena, too, cemented her place as a trailblazer, celebrated not only for her business acumen, but also for her commitment to equity and justice. Though they eventually retired from their official roles, Marcus and Elena remained active in advocacy work. They co-founded a foundation dedicated to supporting underrepresented groups in STEM fields, ensuring that future generations would inherit a world of possibility. In their twilight years, they often reflected on their journey together. Sitting on a porch overlooking a quiet lake, they marveled at how two strangers brought together by chance had changed each other's lives and the lives of so many others. "I never expected any of this," Marcus admitted one evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "I just wanted to make a better life for myself and my family. And look what you've done," Elena replied, smiling. "You didn't just change your own life, you changed the world." Marcus grinned, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. No matter what challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain. Kindness had a ripple effect, touching lives in ways no one could predict. And sometimes, helping someone in need could lead to the greatest adventures of all.